Yes, man! What the rock?
Oh, recording live from two locations. This is Past the Rock. I am Patrick, and today I am joined by the great ball knower Jacob, aka Bethke.
Well, not according to a trophy, but I guess it depends on the ball. I got this ball. This is my other trophy. This is the other ball knower award.
So this is our second episode this week. We did a whole entire Super Bowl preview show where we wanted to dedicate everything to God's game, football, and all that nonsense. It was fun. You should go watch it. Once I figure out how to get it up on YouTube, because apparently it failed, but we'll get there.
Oh, they're trying to take us down because of rhetoric used.
Look, no way the AI missed the shirt I wore like 3 weeks ago. So,
true.
But no, here today we're going to dedicate some time to discussing the 2025-26 NBA trade deadline, which did pass as of this afternoon while recording. So probably yesterday for most of you. A heck of a lot to talk about here. I think it was in total, like 68 players traded. I think it was 63 unique players traded was a number I saw. Like
63 unique, as in they're counting from players.
Yeah.
I know at least Usman Deng was traded multiple times. No, there's been more than one.
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, there were a few guys traded multiple times.
But yeah, I'll hand this
big one
to you and let you lead us through the madness of the NBA trade deadline.
Yeah, adding this to the Super Bowl would have been quite chaotic, because even yesterday would have been so premature that like most of that would have aged poorly, just in like
speculating
the business hours that took place throughout the day. But there were a lot of things that did make that path. We're not going to do chronological because that would be the most like monotonous way to do this, I think.
Well, you don't want to talk about the January 9th trade between the Wizards and the Hawks?
Well, only in the sense that was the one trade that happened during the regular season prior to this thing really opening up. Not quite yesterday, but like 2 days before. What was it? I think it was Saturday night that the first wave of this started to come in.
Whenever the first was 4 days ago. There were a couple of the first, and I think the third is really off.
We got a slow trickle to start. I think it was DeAndre Hunter would have been the first one out the door. But like I said, we're not going to do chronological. The first little part of this is mostly, maybe play the Sarah McLachlan music, but this is for all the guys who, you're still making good money, but another team is now paying you that good money to maybe not report to your new club, and then maybe another team might give you even more money to maybe play for their team.
You generally do have to work pretty hard to get somewhere where they pay you to not work.
Yeah, no, it's just tough, because I think for a lot of these guys, this could be it. Like, this could actually just be the final stop in the journey. And so this is a lot of it.
I was gonna say this is the best time for those guys. 20 years ago they couldn't go play all around the world, so now they have a few other options.
Yeah, and I mean, some guys might just be ready to move on from the game too. So
big three.
The big three, yeah. Maybe we'll see. Yeah, the big three's doing all right.
3.
So we'll go with Hornets Thunder, which I actually do think was kind of early here. And this one starts one of the first guys we're talking about, Usman Deng. So the Hornets send Mason Plumlee over to the Thunder, who then cut him, and then Deng gets on we're going to go down a whole nother 2 trades with him later on. But they also got a second out of it. That's just a little money deal, mostly helping the Thunder move off of a rookie lottery pick that hasn't quite lived up to what they need him to be. Where are you going to pay him? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Prestige Scrooge McDucking over all his picks. Like, I could toss this guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. And so then we have kind of a notable one where the Clippers, the Raptors, and the Nets get involved together. This is going to send Chris Paul to Toronto in theory, but obviously they're going to just pay him to not report at this point.
The deportation jokes were pretty funny.
They were, and it's all, but this is sad because, like, when we talk about how many of these guys may just be done, this one's kind of the most fucked up. And it's like, I don't know, how much does my heart bleed for Chris Paul in this world? It's not that much, but at the same time, like, I do feel bad for the guy because that is unfortunate.
As a lover of the game, he is an important part, a very important part.
It's definitely not the way that you draw it up. The Nets,
unless you last dance it, it always kind of awkwardly goes away.
It's tough, man. The Nets take on Ochai Agbaji, talented shooter. He's got a second-round pick with him. So that's kind of a nice deal for them because he's a little over – he's kind of like Buddy Hield where it's like good shooter, questionable defender. And, you know, so teams are going to pay him to play on the team, but, like, you can't have too many of them on the roster too. And then the Clippers just take on a draft pick, draft rights just to kind of make the deal fair, I guess, to not pay someone in this deal. Nothing really there other than the Chris Paul story. Agbaji does have a chance to be fairly useful in Brooklyn, but their future is still like pretty far away. So who knows what that's going to be. Jazz and the Cavs do a trade to dump Lonzo's contract, which is really unfortunate story. And we talk about guys who might just be done. Lonzo might just be done fairly quickly. I do think someone else will pick him up on the buyout market, but at this point, for him to not be able to really impact the Cavs and not be able to play consistently enough to be able to shoot like what he was able to do at one point before these last set of injuries, makes you wonder how long he's got. The Orlando Magic actually really crazily just dumped Tyus Jones. That was a fairly decent free agent for them. They just kind of dumped him. We'll talk about where his landing spot goes in a bit. New York ends up dumping Gerson Yabusele as a role player, kind of a little overpaid. Didn't really overpay him, but they wanted to move off the money. He's actually rumored to be going back overseas where he mostly plays. So likely the Bulls cut him. They move him for Dalen Terry. This is a rotation guard, not a big deal as much. Talented player. He ends up in New Orleans. And as a result, the Knicks end up coming out a fairly big winner here because they get Grand Theft Alvarado. I don't know if you're familiar with GTA.
I don't believe I've heard of him now.
So a couple of seasons ago, he really got like kind of famous for kind of being a smaller guy. And he would hide like and just like catch people off guard and steal inbounds passes. So they nicknamed him Grand Theft Alvarado. It was back when people had hope for the Pelicans. Either way, he's been kind of rotting in New Orleans, and I think he's a really fun player. He's also Puerto Rican kid from New York himself. So this is probably like the best energy player the Knicks could have added to a roster that kind of needs it right now. So really we're talking about win now moves and things that could decide this championship. I do look at this Jose Alvarado pickup and with some interest because I think if the Knicks play as well as they can, he can be a perfect piece to what they do. Warriors dumped one of their first-round picks, Trace Jackson-Davis. They got a second in return. He goes to Toronto. Nuggets dump a guy, Hunter Tyson. I think he was a second-round pick. They dumped him for 2 seconds to the Nets. The Nets also took on Josh Minot, I believe, another kid who may not be long for the league. Sixers dumped Eric Gordon onto the Grizzlies, and he'll probably get waived, and who knows if Gordon will play again. Eric Gordon had quite an NBA career. Xavier Tillman was a nice reserve for a while. He got dumped on the Hornets. Who knows what happens there. What? All right, and that was the Boneyard.
The Boneyard.
No, some of these guys will get another shot, and there's more Boneyard to be had, actually, as we go, but we'll just sprinkle it in. One of the earlier moves, Portland traded for Vit Krejci. He's kind of an energy role player that's been a wing that's been working out well with the Hawks. Obviously, they've kind of reset. Now Portland, who's like a play-in team, gets another interesting wing player. throw in their rotation, pay 2 seconds for him. Nothing too crazy.
I mean, seconds these days feel like literal just nothing.
I mean, this is why you should have him. This is why I think you should have him, because this is a good player to add to your rotation.
They're nothing to anyone. Then how?
Yeah, but because we'll talk about optics. We'll talk about trade optics.
They feel like some type of laundry.
In a way, they are, and I think the Mavericks have done a great job of showing us what that means. But we'll get to the Mavericks. We had another sort of. These are like in a minor category, but these aren't necessarily minor players. The Bulls end up taking on Jaden Ivey.
Right.
This is an interesting one. Very talented player. Maybe even could have been the number 1 pick in the draft to some. I forget which one his was and who all was in that. But he was a very talented kid. He also got packaged with Mike Conley. Conley gets used as a contract twice more before his stop is over. The Pistons also do a good job of taking a situation where they sort of had these 2-point guards they didn't quite need in Ivy and Cunningham. Obviously, Cade is very good. They're going to be hanging on to him and building around him. So Jaden Ivey now gets a new opportunity in Chicago. Whether he's long for Chicago or not is difficult because that is a confusing roster at the moment. Dario Saric also involved. He goes to the Pistons. Who knows if he'll stay there. Wolves are involved, obviously, Mike Conley. They just get like a pick swap in the deal. Nothing too crazy in that one. And then Bulls still working here. They send Vucevic over to Boston for a 2nd-round pick and Anthony Simons. Both teams get a 2nd-rounder. Anthony Simons goes to the Bulls, who now have probably 10 guards on their roster, maybe 11. They signed Mac Jones after doing Mac McClung. Sorry. And so they signed Mac McClung after trading for all these dudes. It was incredible.
The Bulls are a part of 8 different trades, I think.
The Bulls are fucking amazing. Like, I don't know what they're going for in the future, but there's something's happening.
7 trades.
Yeah, you can't say they're not doing anything. Interesting move here. Jared McCain gets sent over to Oklahoma City.
Philosophically, you could argue that doing too much is the same as doing nothing, but we'll see.
Well, as long as they're keeping the good talent and not giving a lot of
a shell game.
As long as they're not giving a lot of assets away for mediocre players or trading away their young talent, I think that they're fine. They did trade a little bit away, but not too bad. Jared McCain goes to the Thunder. Sixers weren't, this is a kid who came on amazing last season for a bad Sixers team and then got hurt. Now all of a sudden he's out of the rotation this season. Sixers just sort of are like, all right, well, I guess we're bailing on this project because he's not even on our rotation. They end up getting a Rockets first out of it, not too bad, and then 3 seconds. Like I said, so these seconds are good. You rack up 3 of them, that allows you to move on the margins. Thunder, I think, end up winning this, and maybe potentially this is the move that puts them into the back into the driver's seat to repeat, because McCain is an incredible shooter. I think maybe there's some flaws there, but with the way the Oklahoma City Thunder works, you kind of got to like him in that rotation of just regular wings and guards that can go out there and fill up the 3-point meter.
It's very annoying watching a team ran by someone who learned a whole lot from from the Spurs.
Yeah, no, and that's the funny part is, like, maybe this Rockets first would be this scary thing you would be afraid to give away. Obviously, the Rockets are doing well. It's this year's first, so it's not too. You already know it's probably 15 or later. So it's not the worst, but you would be frugal if your other franchises. Presti's just like,
well, because they have all the picks and they already have a young, great team.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't need anything.
It also shows it also can show you the value of these picks, because I believe this is another Russell Westbrook piece, right? This is like the final Russell Westbrook
second stint. Yeah, okay.
So because it's the Houston, so they have Houston's first, which means that would be Russ. That would be the Russ trade, right? So yeah, that's just a funny note there. Lakers end up doing something, but not a lot. Sent Gabe Vincent's contract over for Luke Kennard. They added a second-round pick to that to pay Atlanta to handle that. They get Luke Kennard, who's not playing. You're adding a lot of white dudes who can shoot but not defend if you're the Lakers. You save a little bit of money by doing this, and then it allows you to get into the buyout market because now, remember, the buyout market's closed to certain teams if they pay too much salary.
Why do you think it is the NBA seems to have a vastly higher percentage of the population with early male balding? I just looked at Luke Kennard.
That's a good question, but Lukey's always been on that path, even at Duke. That was.
I feel like I see more in the NBA. Oh, they're not wearing hats or helmets. There we go.
I don't know. I think maybe that's a genetic question I can't answer for you. But yes, Luke Kennard, talented 3-point shooter, questionable defender. Lakers, questionable decisions going on. Potentially all of their decisions are centered around this offseason in acquiring some talent, or maybe
I guess the idea is like they're kind of just stuck waiting to see what LeBron's going to do, right?
Well, I don't know. The reports seem to be indicating more and more that he might be more inclined to go to Cleveland for next season or two than to, I don't know, be a part of the Laker plans. But I don't know how severed. Some of these reports are really trying to act like this is severed and going to be ugly. And I don't know if it's that, because I think, like, you know, let's say best case scenario, they did get Giannis, right? Like, you don't think LeBron would happily come back for the cheap to do that? Of course he would. And maybe it's not Giannis, but even if they have a good offseason and they bring in a few guys that are really talented and he still takes the cheap money, like, he's already in LA. If he's going to play another season.
Who was it Pablo had on when they were talking about they found the video for recruiting to the Knicks?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Wyatt? No. Whoever that was talking about just like everyone in the league already knows what players are doing long before they do it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We're talking about is just talk because it's already like the Lakers and LeBron already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's where maybe you do believe these reports, then okay, then he's headed to Cleveland, you know, if he's going to play again.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're confirming any of the just yeah, it's like whatever is going to happen, that's not going to be a surprise to either party at this point.
No, and I guess that's why you wouldn't be too surprised that they're opting for cap space and flexibility in the offseason than to contend for the 26th championship.
Bronny's contract.
Yeah, Bronny can, unfortunately for him, be easily removed from the roster.
Well, I'm just like, is he going to go sign in Cleveland too? Like,
I would imagine that there's a possibility of that he's a two-way guy that's only been on one team. Usually, these two-way guys can at least get 2 or 3 chances before they're done.
Does Dad say, "Hey, go make it on your own"? You know,
does he decide to do something else at that point? Yeah. So Hornets Bulls. They end up making a really
trade deadline talk.
What?
So this is how we get LeBron to take over trade deadline talk.
Well, he did matter to this a little bit. The Hornets and the Bulls, and we did the Lakers. You got to do a mandatory. Hornets, Bulls. That's the only mention of the Lakers. That's it. That's all they did. Hornets, Bulls. Kobe White goes to Charlotte, which I really like for them because this kind of gives them a true combo guard. Obviously, LaMelo's there. They have a lot of interesting players already, so you don't want to go too crazy. You kind of want a guy who's a perfect combo that you can play him at the 1, you know can play at the 2. He can defend the 3, so he's a really interchangeable guy. Good shooter, good defender. Played at North Carolina. You're talking about just a lot of pluses to have him in Charlotte. You only pay 3 seconds to get him. You also have to buy out Mike Conley's contract. Not a big deal. Colin Sexton and Ousmane Dieng headed to the Chicago Bulls in that deal. Colin Sexton potentially could still stay there. He might get bought out. Like I said, Ousmane Dieng ends up getting moved in the next trade. It's also pretty small. This is just the Bucks taking Ousmane Dieng, which is a funny resting spot for him to be at the end of this, because when he was a talented lottery prospect, he was often given the next Giannis curse. So it's only poetic that he ends up in Milwaukee.
The older I get, the more tired I am of just all sports narratives.
If it makes you feel any better, like I get where this one came from more than anything, because he was sort of a raw prospect that just had like a freakish 2K build, and so they were like, man, if he hits, this could be the guy. Hasn't been obviously yet, so we'll see. He'll probably get decent playing time in Milwaukee. They also got Nigel Hayes Davis. Who knows if he'll stay on the roster or not. They ended up moving off of Cole Anthony and Amir Coffey, who go to Phoenix. Phoenix is an underrated team this season so far, or underappreciated story this season so far, playing really well. I think this actually adds two guys that might fit their scheme and actually contribute. And then they move off one of their bigs because they had a surplus, and Nick Richards goes to the Bulls, where he'll probably be just the one big guy with four guards at all time, I guess, at this point. Not done yet with the Bulls. We have one minor move to finish up with them, I think. The Wolves sent Ayo Dosunmu to the Wolves. They also sent Julian Phillips. Who knows how long he'll stay there. Important for a couple of things here. They also get Rob Dillingham back. Again, another guard and a guy who's criticized of being too small to play at the pro level. 4 seconds, and Leonard Miller, a raw prospect who just has not really played much NBA minutes at all. So we'll see if the Bulls' opportunity is anything better for him. This is notable for two reasons. I think that the Wolves are both remedied a situation that they fucked up, and have to sort of sit with the reality of how much they fucked up. As you are well aware, Rob Dillingham was drafted with the Spurs selection in that draft. They gave up a decent amount, especially when you add the fact that it took 4 seconds to dump him, more or less. Now, again, that's a bad perspective, because at the same time, they got a really great player for what they're doing right now. And they've been a mediocre team this season. They need a point guard. I don't know if this is enough to save what they've got, but I really like Ayo Dosunmu going to Minnesota. That's a really, really good player for them. And when we talk about them being an elite defense, and if that can save their ass, I think Ayo Dosunmu is a perfect addition to that roster. So we'll see how that goes long term. But then we're going to park it here for sort of 6 storylines that I think were the biggest here overall. Starting with the Cavs. I think the Cavs are one of the bigger teams to come out of this trade deadline, needless to say. Decided to mostly blow it up, kind of just shuffled it up. I mean, there's also the LeBron aspect of this, where now if you think about what LeBron could be going to next year, it becomes more interesting.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've just never thought adding James Harden to my team is going to mean I'm going to win something, but
well, I think this one makes sense, but it's still funny. We are talking about the Harden exit volume 5 at this point. So we've got I want to be a starter, paid starter money, leaves Oklahoma City.
Fair. That's a fair one. He's a very good basketball player.
Then we get, all right, well, the Russ trade didn't work. The CP and Russ trades didn't work. So deuces.
Was it OKC to Houston first?
To Houston. Now, okay, Kyrie's kind of, things have gone bad for a lot of reasons. I got to leave Brooklyn now.
One of my teammates can't play half of our games.
Daryl Morey.
Dude.
Daryl Morey's a liar. I tell children in the don't forget the fat suit, also the Harden fat suit in Brooklyn. And then we get to Philadelphia, and we have old buddy Daryl Morey. It's perfect. It's Joel Embiid. It's James Harden. What could go wrong? And all of a sudden, we're at a Adidas event in China, and you're telling children on this random platform that Daryl Morey's a liar and that you're never going to play for the Sixers again. Dude, he's kind of the GOAT if you keep going. Like, and now, no, come on, this is hilarious. You have to admit.
Kanye-esque.
No, this is incredible. The way he's just like his career has been absolutely entertaining, to say the least. So now he's like, all right, I'm out of here. Oh, the Clippers need me, right? You guys want Paul George, whatever, cool. We're out the door. Obviously that isn't quite how it went, but eventually it led to Philly being able to get Paul George and James Harden playing in his hometown of LA, and you thought it was perfect. And then all of a sudden the team was bad this season. Then they win 16 of 20, and Harden's like really good. Like Harden's like really, really good. And he's just like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm out. For this reason, I'm out. And now he's in Cleveland with honestly a really good roster. And he could really actually elevate the Cavaliers because while Darius Garland's a talented player, he is not proven to be a super reliable player. Defensively, there was always a weird fit with him being smaller. Then there was an issue with him not truly being a combo guard, and then where Donovan Mitchell fits. I think Harden's already proven multiple times in his career that he can coexist with ball handlers, despite his early reputation. So I do actually really like that. There's also Dennis Schroeder on this team now. In the DeAndre Hunter move, DeAndre Hunter is now with the Sacramento Kings. Didn't do much. Kings didn't do much, but they did one thing really, and it earned them their fucking stupid record once again. Keon Ellis gets moved in this deal. That was a really talented player. Someone thought that they could actually get value for, and he just kind of gets thrown away in a deal to take on another bad salary potentially. Either way, Cavs really put together a decent roster for the playoff stretch. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm interested. It's fun.
They could be fun, yeah.
We'll see. And especially because now you have the LeBron story looming. The Memphis Grizzlies pushed the button. They weren't successful in completely blowing it up. But that will probably happen in the offseason, would be my guess. Jaren Jackson Jr., the co-star of their, former up-and-coming Western Conference contender, is now in Utah. And he got packaged up with Jock Londale, John Conchar, Vince Williams. Conchar, Vince Williams will play for them. Londale's already been rerouted to the Hawks, where he's actually a starter. Just his first game tonight. So,
sorry about that.
You're good. They do take back. Memphis takes back a Lakers 27 first. Probably not looking great there. And then the best of a bunch of teams first. Okay. But then a Suns 31 first, which is far out. So I don't know. There's kind of some fun there. Walter Clayton Jr. was a really talented point guard at Florida. He's a rookie, so we haven't seen much of him. It's an interesting young player to take on. Taylor Hendricks, really interesting lottery pick. Good physical ability. Remember, he snapped his knee last year. So now you kind of get this reclamation project lottery pick too. Cut Gorgeous Nang, and then slow-mo. Kyle Anderson, former Spur, still hopping around the league. Back to Memphis. I think this is the second time in Memphis, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that one's an interesting one. It just means that Lauri Markkanen is staying in Utah and that they're building around him. They also apparently rejected 2 first-round picks for their big man who's not playing this year because of injury. So seems like they're pretty set in their ways. So Utah was a bad team for a little bit. Now it looks like we should expect them to be somewhat of a useful team moving forward, at least next year.
They finally have someone in town to compete with.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think they've done a good job. They've kept the timeline. I think if they were being nefarious about trying to compete, they would have traded Lauri Markkanen for low value, and they didn't. They've stuck with it. Now it seems like they're building around him, and either that's going to succeed or fail, and that'll dictate their terms. Interesting. I'm going to say this one for last, actually, because it's the most to talk about. Warriors sort of save face. They traded Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis. Interesting trade.
Couldn't find anyone to take Draymond, huh?
Well, I think the Draymond thing was funny too, because there was a conversation about moving him to Milwaukee to match salary and then him getting cut and going back in the offseason. So that was always funny. it's a good trade for them. I think Kristaps is going to be good for them. I know that his injury and consistency has been an issue. He's recently been suffering, sort of going through this weird diagnosis process, where forget what the actual disease that he has is, but it's been figured out. I think he has a plan on how to play games moving forward. So Kristaps Porzingis most likely will be a useful player to them. Doesn't save the fact that Jimmy Butler's future is like completely up in the air, right? So they're still sort of just saving face because like, what are you going to do? But I thought it was a good move. And if they would have had Jimmy Butler and made this move, I think it could have been a really great move.
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
POTS, right? Is that what it is? Yeah. And so at least he knows now. I mean, there was a whole year or two that, basically after Boston gave up on him, that people just didn't understand what was happening.
Basically, it's like it's that blood rush when you stand up too fast. But I think for him, it's just all the time because he's just so big.
Right.
Body's just struggling.
So, look, it may not be perfect. It may limit how much he can impact a basketball roster, but at least and the sports trainers that can handle that.
I always wanted him to work with Luka. I thought that was a fun pair.
Well, maybe he can end up with the Lakers next year. Right. Seems like that's their motive right now. He fits their type.
The ethnic cleansing of the NBA.
So let's say this is the whitest Lakers have been since the Mikan days. The Clippers in LA, speaking of, one more move before we get to the local team. Clippers sell high on Ivica Zubac after James Harden said deuces. It basically made the Clippers,
I forgot to say this in our Discord, but that's one of the most hockey sounding names for a non-hockey player that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, Ivica Zubac. Croatian?
Sounds.
But yeah, so
yes.
Zubac, very, very interesting player. He'll go to Indiana. He'll be also going with Kobe Brown. Decent, interesting fringe player. We'll see if he gets better time, can pan out better for Indiana. In return, though, Los Angeles Clippers get Benedict Mathurin, an interesting talent who's shown flashes of being really, really good, but really no consistency this far. At least they'll be able to offer him consistency because he's definitely going to play, most likely going to start. Isaiah Jackson, interesting big, kind of not a starter, but a fun rotation guy. We'll see if they keep him or not. But really, we're talking about 2 quality first-round picks from the Pacers. And then 1 more second-rounder in this deal. This is a pretty nice haul for them. I think the Pacers are smart. I think they understand that they're going to be back locked and loaded next season with Tyrese back. And it's not going to worry about their future too much because Zubac fits into that really very, very well. But it is a gamble, I think, to some extent. You definitely, you're going to need that Pacers team to be right back where it left off. You need to be in the Eastern Conference Finals every year to really justify the kind of price you paid for Zubac. But it does complete the puzzle. It does kind of give you the satisfaction of not having to deal with the question of paying Benedict Mathurin or does he start or not. You kind of understand the hierarchy of your team better moving into next year too. So it does work out, but it was definitely a good price for the Clippers. Very smart to go ahead and just pull that trigger on that deal with Harden, going ahead and hitting the button on them. Giannis stands pat with the Bucks. There's been a little bit of on and off talk about it. Some GMs were coming out after the deadline and saying that they were never serious about it. Giannis tweeted some stuff about, being faithful to them, being like, this is the team I want to be with. And that sounds good, but we've seen Dwight Howard kind of play this gimmick on his way out the door too. So you kind of have to be weary. It makes you wonder it makes you wonder if there's not some predetermined destination. And again, I mean, it may not be the Lakers. It could be the Heat. It could be the Raptors. It could be one of these teams that have fair market value offers.
Portland, dude.
Or Portland. But if this comes to end up in him kind of forcing his way over to LA or New York or wherever he wants, really, Orlando has been mentioned. it does seem interesting, and it feels like if the haul that they get back for him is modest, it does feel like it makes it an interesting conversation about where the league's at right now with the power players and who can do what and how things operate. Because there's a lot of guys going for really big things like Zubac and Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bane in the offseason, for Giannis to potentially follow Luka in this pattern of sort of, unintentional with that one, but these nefarious ways of getting to teams is just going to be an interesting thing to watch. But speaking of the Luka trade, the fallout is finally over. We finally have resolution. The Cooper Flag era can officially begin. Anthony Davis has been moved to the Washington Wizards. He is joined with D'Angelo Russell, longtime Maverick. Jaden Hardy, well, actually a decent project attempt.
But
good attempt for the Mavericks. It just is unfortunate.
And so,
yeah, he just didn't pan out. Dante Exum, really good signing at the time. A lot of weird with how that went down and how it just sort of became a mysterious injury to the point where they just salary dumped him in this deal. They take on Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley. I believe all of those are expiring. I thought Chris Middleton was going to get cut. He did not. AJ Johnson, young, interesting talent, came into the league a little too raw probably. We'll see how it goes. And then, of course, the funny part of this is Marvin Bagley plays for the Mavs. And if Mavs fans are not aware, Marvin Bagley's actually done a good job rehabbing his basketball career. And this is really maybe potentially the first job that he's gotten that could actually land him a real gig in the league for the rest of his career. Because he's been showing improvement on bad rosters. This one obviously will be not so awesome this season, but it's expected to be very good next season. And if you audition well, you could be a part of that. It's at least expected to be a play-in team next year.
I was trying to remember if Kyrie is still signed. I don't know.
Yeah, so you'll still have Kyrie next year, and you're at this point you still have Klay Thompson, you still have PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, still have a lot of these older guys at this juncture.
Don't worry about the older Klay Thompson, what that's going to look like. It doesn't look incredible now.
Well, I think he's doing well despite the fact that the team is a dumpster fire. So I think that if anyone would have taken the investment on him, that would have worked out. I understand why they didn't with the number where it's at. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Malachi Branham already flipped. He's over for Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones is an interesting player. Apparently, they were wanting Tyus Jones over D'Angelo Russell this offseason. Ended up having to settle for D'Lo. All right, well, now you get him. They also get two kind of less than ideal first-round picks, but first-round picks nonetheless, and 3 second-round picks in this deal. And that's where we talk about the optics of trade and the optics of draft picks and why this was an excellent trade for the Dallas Mavericks. 10 out of 10 trade, really for everyone involved. I think that the Anthony Davis
move off of Anthony Davis without just losing your pants. Yeah.
I think Anthony Davis I think this is a great potential spot. He gets to, him and Trae Young both basically get to rehab their images together starting next season, right? Probably for AD, you probably just take the rest of the season off. And then look, the bar
rehab.
The bar, yeah. I mean, but there's a little bit for both of them there. The bar is so low in Washington. Like
talking about Michael Jordan played there.
Like low, man. Like if Anthony Davis gives them 1 or 2 seasons and gets them in the playoffs, you could be talking about rafters for how bad that thing's been. Okay. I'm just saying.
You go woke and you get rid of your team name.
This is the goal. This is the greatest thing that they could have. I hope the best for them. At the same time, they didn't give the Mavericks anything really that takes away from their young core that's interesting. It's all things they could have moved on without.
There's only one thing that they couldn't get rid of.
What? Trae?
Cooper.
Oh, I was talking about the Wizards and their assets. Like what they spent on Anthony Davis is really not that bad. What's the worst of this is that they end up just having, with the same issue is he's not playing. and they're not getting him, they're paying him to not play. Otherwise, though, they have most of those guys on cheap rookie deals. They're all really talented, and then Trey makes up a lot of money,
Neither of those picks are going to really be anything worthwhile probably either.
No. I mean, I think the Mavs will probably be fine with them. My guess is that
they got to set some kind of limit. A top 20 protected pick is stupid.
Did you hear the one which one was it today? Someone got a protected pick that was 1 through 4 protected and 14 through 30 protected or something.
1 through 4 and 10 through 30.
Who was this again? Which trade was that again?
So this is the Zubac Kobe Brown.
Yeah, that was but it does translate into a later first from the Pacers. So it's not that bad. It's just a funny protection.
Like, what is that? You're like,
if you specifically get this range, you can have the pick. If you don't, it's ours. But it's not even like the back half range like we've seen. It's just a cut of the middle.
Trade being sponsored by BetGM or something like that. What are we doing?
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's good enough to ask the question. But yeah, so for the Mavs, dude, this is good. This is good for the Mavs. They open up money. They have to win next year, so they probably have to pay people or they have to trade for people. My guess is they probably don't sit on these assets that much because they're not that valuable.
They moved off of Anthony Davis.
Because they still owe a lot of draft picks, including your Spurs.
Well, that's fine. They don't have to.
No, the Mavs, trust me, the Mavs are 100% aiming for the play-in next year, without a question. Like anything less than them being a playoff fringe team is definitely going to be bad because they have no desire to, like, they're going to have a bad pick this year. They're probably going to be a lot of DNP olds for the guys that are currently on the team right now. But at the end of the day, they're expecting to pick up like a playoff team next year because they don't have the luxury of tanking anymore. And they need to have their guys play well so that they can maybe get something for Klay Thompson or get something for Najee Marshall or Daniel Gafford or whoever else they have on these long-term deals that may not fit Cooper's timeline. So it's fun. Like I said, I think it's best for all parties at this point for sure. It does give the Mavs a big break. I think Chris Middleton's a fun part of this as well because it seemed like they were just going to outright cut Chris Middleton. But, he's a Texas guy. This is kind of a fun situation for him to play for the Mavs. And I don't know, maybe he wants to stay on a fairly cheap deal. But I also know that if the Mavs buy him out, he would most likely be the like number one buyout target, I would assume. So we'll see. We'll see how that one ends up going. But mostly an interesting trade deadline for next season. And then the good news for the rest of us is we can start watching basketball again because this is it now for the rest of the season. These are the rosters. Either people get hurt or they don't, and then they play well or they don't. And back to the easy stuff. And I think if I had to go on a soapbox, I would say that I honestly think you can move the trade deadline up a month with the way things are going. And I think it might end up making things more interesting for basketball.
When you say up, do you mean January or March?
January. I think that because it's very difficult to take this league seriously until we get to this point for anyone because you're not looking at complete basketball rosters yet. We kind of knew most of these teams were ready to make a move a month ago. And the fact that they all came at one time is only as a result, at least in my opinion, of Giannis being in the trade market potentially. Like they fucked the trade market up and basically everybody just spewed him in on the last 2 days. I mean, usually you do get a fairly decent amount for the deadline, but I think all of these trades coming in the last 2 days was a result of everyone trying to get in on Giannis. So,
yeah.
Something that the NBA should consider. I don't think that they will, but I think it's very difficult for anyone to really care about what their basketball roster looks like until we get to this day, because now I actually know what these teams are going to look like. I have a better idea, and it matters more, I think, in the league like the NBA for these rosters and their chemistry to be set earlier on.
Yeah, baseball is probably the least important for that. Football, you need your line.
Football, I also think should push it back They should go the other way.
I'm just saying, like, for chemistry,
Injury.
your line is very important, but like your wide receivers don't need that much chemistry with each other.
Right. If you have an injury to your quarterback, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there should be more give.
Hockey and basketball definitely need glue.
Yeah, you need chemistry, and it's just like, but you also don't need too much, because I think that's why I say you push it. If we're talking early January is the deadline, you go into the new year. We've got the Christmas basketball games. Then you go into the new year. Everyone's excited about trades. And then, you get into, you're maybe even chipping away into the interest of the playoffs, right? Or of the college football stuff. Like, I mean, that's still a petty goal I don't think these people should have. But if that's your goal, you still get to do some of that. When you do it here, it just feels like it's just basically like the NBA poking everybody and be like, hey, guys, it's our turn now,
Well, I mean, it does kind of make sense to have it the week before the Super Bowl.
But it's the Super Bowl, everyone's going to watch the Super Bowl for whatever reason, even if they hate watch.
This week, they've got, there was no game on Sunday. Like, this is a good week to grab attention.
Yeah, it's not bad. I said, for me, the basketball product is what hurts. And I think for the fans,
reporting soon. So,
like, for the fans of basically for the last month, the fans have been watching a basketball product where they want to root for their team while also not rooting for players to be injured. Very specific, like being afraid of players to play basketball because they want their value to be high. It's just a weird time. I think I think it would be better to get rid of this time.
Yeah, metagaming sports is annoying.
Yeah, dude. Enjoy the basketball. Watch your team, and I think move it up a month. The players also, dude. Like, the players hate it. It's like the Grim Reaper all around the league.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I'm sure a bunch of guys said it last year, but after the Luka trade, it's like, wait, what? Any of us? Literally any of us?
It definitely helps. But I think, there's more people that have always had the Luka fear than the comfort, for sure. So, yeah. But either way, fun trade deadline. I don't think we had anything too groundbreaking. I think it is funny to think about all of these potentially being more impactful to the 26-27 season than they are to this current one. But it is true. And I do think there's some fringe moves here, like GTA over at New York, or McCain going to the Thunder. I think there were some marginal moves. Ayo Dosunmu going to Minnesota. Things that I think actually were really good moves that made fringe playoff teams or teams that are high caliber, but you just have a lot of doubt in. It gave you a little bit more hope going into the playoff run. But
do you have any thoughts on any buyouts that could potentially add to playoff teams? Big names. I mean, I know Lonzo Ball is mentioned. I saw that a bunch. I'm trying to think who else I've heard.
Yeah, Lonzo's an interesting one. Middleton would be big. Yeah. I don't know who else, because we're still going to have guys on regular rosters that might get cut, like guys who didn't get traded that are on their expirings that might just get cut. So we'll still see what that turns into.
You're telling me Sohan might not make it through the year?
I don't think it'd be that bad for him. I think they'll still be able to recover something in the offseason for him. I just don't. Is he RFA?
Yeah, I believe his contract's up this year.
So, yeah, they may have to make a decision on him one way or another. But
I feel like that decision's been made based on the fact that he doesn't see the floor.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
but he's a vibe captain, I guess.
Great guy.
No, we'll see.
Jokes about his box score of 5 high fives and 4 butt slaps and all that.
Hey, man, get through it. I'm sure you get a second opportunity and just make the most of it. But yeah, so we'll see. I think moving forward, with the more time we'll have, I think the goal is to start breaking down these divisions. Is probably the smoothest way to roll us back into it before the playoffs.
Yes, the historical NBA divisions.
Yeah, the divisions will be fun. Let's see. I think I could give you a preview. I know I have some of this written down. So for the post Super Bowl show, I'm still sort of a question mark. I might just have us take the L to follow up on the Super Bowl completely next week, just because it's also buys me more time to replace my board, which is now completely destroyed. Every roster has been reset a billion times except for 3 now.
I mean, we could do this same exact format if we wanted to, just do it the next day, just to give. I think we probably do got to give Super Bowl room to breathe. So
yeah, I think next week it'll be fine because I actually have time to do all 6 divisions, like break them down in a week before we get to the playoffs at all. We'd be still 3 weeks before the play-in if we do one division a week. That'll be easy. It'll help kind of tell the story of the NBA season for anybody who hasn't been watching yet. You can get into the future of it and see how much playoff interest we can generate from the general public, and talk about the local teams as we can. So the Mavericks, I think, like I said, DNP old. A lot of those in your future, Mavs fans. A lot of those.
Yeah, the Spurs saw an entire. It was funny watching people on the Spurs subreddit, who I'm guessing haven't been fans of the team for a long time, crying about the Thunder sitting all their guys, and I'm like, that's our guy doing our game.
Yep, it's okay. The Wembanyama fan base is necessary evil. This is what it's like to be a modern NBA fan. Is you have to deal with stan culture.
Oh man, I was gonna check on their score. Are they playing right now? They might not have even started yet.
Yeah, I think we'll probably have 2 or 3 days of fake games.
Mavs are in the middle of the first. Cool. I might watch today.
Well, I think give it like 2 more days before everybody's rosters are reset and everybody's in town and
we didn't do anything.
Huh? Well, yeah, your team is it. But I'm saying if you're just interested in any of these other moves,
oh no,
definitely give yourself a couple days before they take effect.
Nah, I'm sure I'll see them in person sometime next year. I like going down there.
All right. Fair enough. Well, that's it for this one. And I guess, like I said, we'll back in 2 weeks with more NBA stuff. We'll just focus more on the divisions, Atlantic division starting up. Spoiler alert, the New York Knicks are pretty good. Boston Celtics are not going away. That's basically it, though.
Yeah, and I guess that's the last thing I could have mentioned was that the Celtics.
Raptors are good.
The Celtics went from being deep into the second apron to where all of a sudden they're like ready to fucking play again.
Yeah, and got Vucevic, which is also going to be a great person to put with their roster next year. They've done it. Brad Stevens, man, he's slept on.
He did like the opposite pop, and it's great.
He's doing a good job, dude.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I'm confident every day, to be honest.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. You appreciate his compliment?
Say again?
You appreciate TJ's words for it?
Sure, that's my guy. That's my guy.